again, I'm Jackson Wash. Sorry. So once again, I'm Jackson Washburn. I'm the development director for Solstra Communities California, and they're the owner of the property. We want to thank you for inviting us to be able to come in and discuss this project with you. Just want to kind of make sure everybody realizes this project in its very early stages, and it is a work in progress. And we're happy that we can come in and talk to you at this early stage to get your all's feedback from this. So as you guys probably most know, the oil field, Orchid Oil Field, has been in operation for over 120 years. And the project, the Solomon Hills project area that we're going to talk about tonight, is located on approximately 2,000 acres on the eastern side of the oil field. And we look at this as a good opportunity to potentially start permanently transitioning out of oil and gas use into a more sustainable use that's more aligned with the needs of the local communities and the region as a whole. Lisa, can you go to the next slide? I don't know if anybody else can see, but I have a big window in front of it says this meeting is recorded by the project. Can you, maybe Lisa, can you just click on got it so that window goes away? You're on mute, Lisa. Is anybody else seeing that window?
I think if you click it on your screen, it'll go away.
Yeah, I clicked mine. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, okay,
so
got it. Okay,
I think
so
it's for every yeah, it's for every participant.
I'm acknowledging that it's recorded. Okay.
Yeah, everybody has to acknowledge.
Got it.
Otherwise, you don't get to see it.
Got it. Got it. So Solstra purchased this property in 2019. They look for properties like this to invest in, that assets that they believe are kind of underutilized and are poised to begin their transition into the next phase of existence. Their capital structure is such that they can take part in these long-term capital intensive projects that a typical oil and gas company would struggle with. These guys have a lot of international experience in developing master plan communities that are sustainable and based on clean energy, carbon neutrality. A good example of that is the Bella Quarter neighborhood that they've done in Denmark, and it is certified as a sustainable building council, and it has some great features. One of them is it has its own wind turbine that supplies green energy to the tenants and the people that live there. Oscar Krohn is the principal. You have Klaus Hasbo is the CEO. Rob Foss is the CFO, and I'm the development director. Lisa, if you can move on. So, they hired a very experienced local team, and you can just see from the people that are on this meeting as well as this group to kind of take a hard look at the feasibility and the viability of this transitioning, out of this 2,000 acres out of the oil and gas, into a redevelopment of this into a sustainable community, including multiple neighborhoods, village center to support the people living there, permanent open space surrounding these development pockets, and a trail system, throughout. That's kind of what we envision. They've also brought in Cove Architects, who has quite an experience throughout Europe of bringing innovative designs into developments to create a very green, sustainable community. So we brought them in to assist us in creating this sustainable community-based kind of development that we're envisioning as part of this project. So as part of the diligence, not just looking at the property itself, we looked at regional trends and housing demands and affordability trends to see, what's the viability of this. And probably none of this will surprise anybody, but U.S. homeownership continues to increase, and you've seen significant increase over the past 5 years. Buyers want more, eco-friendly homes and a healthy living environment. We believe COVID was part of this acceleration of that. People spending a lot of time at home and working at home, they realize how important that is. So that trend is increasing. And, the high demand and limited supply continues to have a big impact on the affordability of housing. That should be no surprise from anybody that lives in California. California also is really always been the lead in trying to, in the US as far as clean energy conversion, houses, cars. You have Gavin Newsom's comeback plan of carbon neutrality by 2035, I believe it is. And this completely aligns with what Solstra and it feels that that's their focus. That's what they want to do here. That's what they do elsewhere in Europe. We've also noticed that internal to Santa Barbara itself, there's growth trends and also studies showing that there's growth in population and jobs. And then there's things, then there's also the potential of the Vandenberg space base expanding. So if you go to, if you look at this SBCAN regional growth forecast that they did for 2050, on the right is the actual figure on page 11 of the report. And you can see that the population, they think by 2050 will increase by 15%, over 68,000 people. Jobs increase 25% by 58,000, and households by 25%, 38,000. This is across the entire Santa Barbara. And if you go to the next slide, and this was done in 2019. So if you go to the next slide, this shows sort of the areas of growth for population and jobs. This slide is actually figure 2 of this report. We have added the green North and South County lines just for discussions. But if you look at what's going on, North County alone is forecasted to grow by 50,000 residents over the by 2050, and jobs in the North County alone is supposed to grow by over 23,000 jobs. So that's quite a significant growth in the north and throughout the actual county. Also, I'm sure you're familiar, maybe you are, with REACH and their vision of Vandenberg growth. They did this study, this economic impact of Vandenberg Air Force Base. They had, if you can see from the bottom, the source of this information comes from Vandenberg Air Force Base at the time, Deloitte, in the city of Lompoc, and Cal Poly. And the county hired Cal Poly to go and do this analysis. And this is on page 41. So the punchline here is, if they do what Deloitte feels they can do by their study, they're going to be adding an additional 8,000 high-paying jobs in the region associated with that expansion. And it looks like 1,000 good-paying jobs kind of starting to come in at 2025. So we definitely see internally the county anticipating growth in housing and population, as well as jobs throughout the county, but not just in the south. There's a lot of activity that's been anticipated going on in the North County. Laura, do you want to jump in here?
Sure thing. Hi, this is Lori. So what we're looking at here is a map that is used as a resource for Santa Barbara County and Santa Barbara Association of Government, SBCAN. It's the whole county, which reflects not only government-owned land, which is all in yellow, Los Padres National Forest and Vandenberg Air Force Base, but it also includes all of the lands that are designated for agriculture. And also the blue areas are lands that have already been established in some kind of conservation or some land trust or some other entities ownership. And those are exciting designations for the properties. And then you see the urban designated areas, as well as cities versus county designations between the pink and the orange. In the North County, in the next slide, this is a more focused look at the North County, between Los Alamos and the county boundary line, Vandenberg Air Force Base, Guadalupe, out towards the ocean, You got Santa Maria, and then the Orchid Community Plan is outlined in yellow. You also see Las Flores, which is city-owned land and about 1,500 acres, as well as the area that we've looked at as a potential for development in the outline in blue. And then, of course, all of the lands that are designated for agriculture. Next slide. Next. So one of the things that is really important is that the community of Orchid has a plan that was adopted in 1997, the Orchid Community Plan. And over the last 25 years, there's been a lot of different projects approved in the county, and about 1,700 units have been developed or are ready to be built and almost completed in the Orchid Community Plan. There are also areas that are ranchette areas in yellow that are about half built out. And then you have some commercial areas that were identified that are still pending some approvals, like Key Site 1 and Key Site 2. And then you have areas that are speculative, Key Site 15, 14, and Key Site 22 all have different planning issues associated with them that involve tiger salamanders or other issues. So right now on the table for the foreseeable future, we have 3 projects. Key Site 3, which was referred back from the Board of Supervisors to county staff and the developer to resolve issues. Key Site 21, which is the golf course, which was again referred back to staff and the developer to resolve issues. And Key Site 17, which is immediately adjacent to the Orchid School District items, which involves senior housing. And they're working through their projects. So in those 3 projects, we're talking about 660 units. And once you do all the math, there's about 319 units left in the Orchid Community Plan to develop. The good thing is that over the last 25 years, between developers and the community and the Board of Supervisors, the build out of the community plan has been very successful. Now it's time to look to the future. Sorry, the Solomon Hills project is centrally located in the North County between Vandenberg Air Force Base, Vandenberg Spaceport and Base, City Santa Maria, Los Alamos, San Ynez Valley. And it's important to look at this area as a potential to serve the housing needs for what's going to happen in the region. Our goal is to provide something that will transition, permanently phase out the oil production on the site to an economically viable and environmentally sustainable use on the property. We see thriving communities and neighborhoods to address the housing needs. Sorry, apply sustainable and smart growth and innovative designs throughout to achieve the state's goals of carbon neutrality. Opportunities, major opportunities to provide habitat and open space conservation and establish robust interconnective trail systems between those that are existing currently at Rice Ranch versus those that are being created at Las Flores. Next slide. We are really using the California Comeback Plan as a benchmark for designing and looking at this project. We believe that energy efficiency is critical and achieving carbon neutrality throughout this development of this project is paramount in how we're going to develop this site. The environment is important. We got a number of issues that we need to deal with, no matter whether it's, any development needs to deal with now. 100%, we believe that we should be 100% clean electricity. Water efficiency is critical for this site. And we're bringing a team together that has experience with smart design, smart growth, energy efficiency projects. Really be very focused on waste management and recyclable materials. We see the need, the significant need for energy recharging stations and storage batteries. This is a weak link in transitioning to electricity. And we see this project being a very strong advocate for that. And we want to see reduced footprint for carbon and in all of the elements, including fiber optics and mixed use. Sorry, I have laryngitis. But it's still a community. And we see the opportunities for having a diverse group of people living in a neighborhood, all age spectrums and people of different economic levels. This project will meet the county's affordable housing requirements of all levels. And we also want to have incorporated an elementary school campus and a significant network of trails, walking, hiking, and biking. All of these things will bring the community together in a central location. Next slide. We have a village center, which will include the daily needs of the residents in this community so that we can reduce vehicle miles traveled. We also see establishing not only individual home offices within each one of the residential units, but also having workspace that people can congregate at and share ideas with daycare, gym, offices, meeting areas, tech support. We see this as the smart growth, innovative way of the future. Connectivity, of course, is really important with broadband and the internet, and having a new project that we can design all of these features that could coordinate with regional and entrepreneurship and project adjacent to growth. We think all of this is relevant to this project. Next slide. Diversity of housing types is critical. We will meet the county's affordable housing parameters, workforce, multifamily, single family detached. We see an active adult senior component is very strong in this community, as well as executive housing for those that will be coming to this community through Vandenberg Spaceport Base. Go ahead. So this is the area that we are now referring to as Solomon Hills. This area is just immediately south of Orchid, south of the ridge. We identify New Love Picnic Grounds because many of you have been up there and seen New Love Picnic Grounds and the vision of what's happening in the Santa Maria area. We see connectivity of this trail network connecting to what's already been established in the existing Orchid trails, as well as those that are being established by the city of Santa Maria at the Las Flores community. This interconnective trail system will provide a number of recreational opportunities for the whole community. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think Jackson.
Yeah, let me jump in and give your voice a break. So all of that is kind of summed up in this slide. Why here? Why now? We think this is a good opportunity, and this project is poised to kind of take the next step in its transition out of oil and gas and permanently phase it out in the Solomon Hills area. If you look at the land use constraints map that Lori was talking about and the different areas that have been built out, you have the constraints in the North County that all the ag and conservation areas. You have the Orca community plan that's, towards the final phase of its build out, we believe. We think based on those issues that this property is really uniquely situated to be able to, meet future housing needs of the North County. If you look at the 2050 projected, population and job growth from the SBCAN study and the potential of Vandenberg, we think that there will continue to be pressing demand for all housing types. Because we are kind of starting from scratch and not bolting on or infilling, it gives us an opportunity to really have a broad range of product types and housing types to be able to take care of all housing needs. I know there's a missing middle where there's the certain gap in the housing product type in the area. And we think that we're uniquely situated to help address that problem. Because we can build this and design this from the ground up, we can build into the community all the elements to make this, carbon neutral and sustainable that are challenging when you have smaller bolt-on communities. And we think where we are, right in the middle of the North County, we think we are uniquely situated again to address, vehicle miles traveled with the growth in the north and the potential growth out of Vandenberg. We think we're physically situated to where it makes a lot of sense to study this, right? I mean, we want to go and study this and see if this is a place where we believe, the county would want to study potential homes here.
So over the last couple of months, the new owners of this property have done a lot of research on the site and looked at, is this even a feasible application? And the goal of transitioning from oil to other uses has been paramount to them. And we believe that this is something we should bring forward to the county. So the next steps is submitting a pre-application for a general plan amendment. And this application will be going in the next couple of months for county staff review for this pre-app. This pre-application package will be vetted through public hearings. And ultimately, we would be going to the Board of Supervisors for an initiation of this application process. So we have a lot of information to submit to the county and go through a vetting process to have a public hearing in probably the next 6 months or so to initiate this application. And then after that, if the Board of Supervisors agree that this is a feasible application to process, we have a big task ahead of us to actually submit the formal application and go through the environmental review process. That's probably at least a year process, if not more. And then a whole series of public hearings with both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. And ultimately, the Board of Supervisors will be the final decision maker on the development potential of this site. So we have a long road ahead of us, but we think this is definitely a viable option for moving forward with this application. Next slide. Jackson.
Yeah, so really to focus in, Lori, on what we're really asking here is we're putting in a pre-application for the county to look and see if this is something that an area where they would like to study to see if it's viable for a housing project. So this first pre-application, all we're really going through is a policy sort of discussion on should we study this, and if that approval is given, then the work starts. Then all the applications and all the specific plan and all the details will be studied. And then we will, all of it will have to get to a point where it's deemed complete. And then it'll go through its CEQA process and ultimately environmental impact report through all of that. But we're not there yet. What we're putting in is really an application to have the county decide if this is an area they would like to study for this type development. Anything else, Lori?
Yeah, so one of the questions that just popped up was what's happening with the oil activity on this Solomon Hills proposed area? And there are wells and oil extraction on the Solomon Hills portion of the field. And our commitment is to abandon all wells on the Solomon Hills development area and explicitly state no oil extraction would occur in the Solomon Hills area as part of this application. So this is truly a transition from oil to housing. So we're done. This is our presentation. Thank you so much. And we're available for any questions.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. I see Maddie has their hand up, so you can go ahead first, Maddie.
Maddie, you're muted.
Sorry, I
Sorry.
was just typing away and then I didn't get to finish there, but I was basically saying thank you very much for the information and the overview of the whole process. It really helps me understand. And I also put in the comments, of course, lots of good things. And I especially love the idea of connecting the trails between Las Flores and Orchid Hills. I think my greatest concern living in the North County is the whole urban sprawl. I know Santa Maria, there's a lot of pressure to expand to the east side into the agricultural lands there. And if we're, this looks from the maps I see sort of not near much else, kind of out on its own. And it just gives me the idea that it's going to be a commuter kind of place and car oriented, to Vandenberg or to wherever, even though, you've built in the idea of community and some commerce and lots of, like I said, lots of good ideas. But I think just so you're aware, my concern as I look at development plans in our county and in our area, because right now those views are gorgeous. You create a development there, but what's going to happen is there's going to be other developments between that and other areas unless it is already designated to remain open. So between Los Alamos and Orchid, for instance. So that's all I'll say for now.
My team has never lost. I have never won, but our team.
So in response to that, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
We see this as we know that there's a lot of concerns about expansion into agricultural areas. This site is not an agricultural preserve. It does not have prime soils. And there is a lot of terrain that we have to deal with. And so as you can see in this illustration, the areas that are identified for either prime agricultural soils, farmland, unique farmlands, ag preserves. There's a lot of land that's identified throughout Santa Maria Valley and Los Alamos and the San Antonio Basin area. This particular site is not designated on any of those maps for agricultural preserve. And so we think that helps lend itself to an opportunity for a community to be developed there to help address the housing needs for the future. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me see, there were some other questions in the chat. Or Cliff, do you want to just unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, I have been at that park. I'm just, and the comment that I put in the chat is I'm just very concerned. The road structure right now is not at all good. And so to do a project like this is going to mean massive. I mean, I understand that you're wanting to kind of move away from cars, but to do the development, you're going to have to get a lot of equipment in there, and I'm concerned about the amount of road structuring and restructuring that's going to have to be done. It's going to involve doing work off of 101. And so I'm concerned about the sewer system, because at the last meeting that we had, we were kind of talking about this project is on the other side of the hills. I think it would be difficult to connect into Orchid. And so I'm concerned about the sewer system, and also, quite honestly, how you're going to get water into a project as massive as this. So I guess, I'm curious as to how all of this is going to be handled, because it's going to need a massive restructuring.
Yeah, Cliff, excellent question. And obviously those are all on our radar screen of things that will need to be, studied and fleshed out. Because we're at this preliminary nature where we're just really asking the county, would this be something that you'd be interested in looking at and studying? All of those things would be fleshed out when we step past that and start having to put all of those plans together that will be studied as part of the EIR. So obviously those are things that are on our radar screen as well. We don't have a very viable, fleshed out answer for you yet, but we know that there are challenges there that we'll have to address.
Thank you.
And the important thing is that with any development, whether it's Rice Ranch, that was basically virgin territory, and now you have almost 500 units built and another 150 being built. Everything starts from ground zero, and the infrastructure needs to be built to extend those services to that community. The interesting thing about this particular site is that there are roads there. There is development there. There's pipelines and wells, and all of that infrastructure has already established a footprint on the land. What we're going to do is abandon a lot of that, restore a lot of the land back to nature, and develop certain pods that will be able to provide housing and infrastructure and meet the needs of the community as we go into the next 30 years of development through the Santa Barbara County. We know that there's connections to 101. We are studying those right now. We also know that water is a critical issue, and we're working with putting a portfolio of water service together on this site. And we're looking at what the opportunities are for establishing a packaged sewer plant on the site that can also use tertiary treated water. So, this is a smart growth, innovative community plan that we're putting together, and we think will address all of those issues as we move forward with this development. And so we appreciate the concerns, and we know each one of those are things that we will have to address as we move this project forward. But we need to go through the initiation process first to spend the energy and time and engineering on all of those issues.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. I'll just go to one quick question in the chat, and then we'll go to Pam and Alan. Could you just clarify, is there any oil being extracted from this area today?
I'm sorry, is there currently oil being extracted from this area? Yes, there is. But as Lori said, as part of the plan, the commitment is to abandon everything and in perpetuity ban any future oil and gas operations in the Solomon Hills area.
So is there a plan to, like, would the oil get phased out if you couldn't develop this area? Like if the county said no?
I have,
Maybe that's hard to answer.
well, look, there's a lot of things that go into, when and how long this oil operations are going to be going, right? But we haven't really looked at that. I mean, they're looking at, what is the next viable phase of the existence of this property, and they're focusing on this. So, there's just a lot of things that we're looking at this point.
Okay. Pam, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. This is helpful, and I understand that you're just really in the preliminary researching stage. However, what you've addressed as the ultimate plan and all that it will take to get there, how are these going to be affordable housing? Rice Ranch now, even in the oldest section, they're selling for over $1 million each. And so the new ones must be selling for, $1.5 million, $2 million. So that's one of my questions, because what we need here in the area is affordable housing. And I understand there's been a lot of research on projections for high-paying jobs, which leads me to believe they won't be affordable. And also, I understand that there's going to be growth. I think, listening at this stage, what you're really going to have as a development is a bedroom community to Santa Barbara and not Santa Maria. So I'll be paying attention, and I'm sure you'll be back to give us updates as the project grows. So thank you.
Yes, thanks, Pam.
So I think it's important to note that we have been monitoring and watching the housing, the regional housing needs allocation that's come down from SBCAN, as well as the county's requirements for affordable housing. And we will embed within this project a substantial number of affordable units in all, low, very low, moderate, middle income categories, because we see this as a diverse community. We don't see, a bedroom community here. We see opportunities for blending the community and addressing the housing needs for the county of Santa Barbara. The county is obligated to provide and meet their arena numbers. And we see this as maybe a solution for them to consider moving forward with this project in order to address their housing needs. And so please note that we are committed to providing affordable housing within this project.
Okay, thank you, Lori. I've seen that kind of community be successful in Seattle, but there was also adjacent services as well. And you may have said that in the presentation, but I've not heard that.
Yeah, we're designing into this project a village center, which will have the daily needs of the community, grocery, drugs, drugstore. We also see a center workspace area for people to congregate, those that are working from home. We want to try to do everything we can to reduce vehicles miles traveled. We also know that we have a senior component that we want to have active adults, and they're going to want to participate in the community, whether it's for daycare or for interacting with students and kids. as well as, exercise and gym or whatever opportunities. So I think, first of all, the comments that we're getting here today just kind of mirror what we're envisioning for this site. This is a smart growth, innovative community that's we can design from scratch and really incorporate everything that people have been talking about for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years about how to live in a master plan community design project. So any ideas that you have, we look forward to hearing from you all.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, Alan.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation and answering those previous questions. And I really appreciate the questions that Pam and Cliff asked, because I think those are some of my concerns, specifically with affordable housing and the goal of having such a transformative community and an all-electric community is that building those tend to be very expensive. So how are you prioritizing keeping costs low enough to ensure that affordable housing stays affordable? What percentage of the housing that you're planning to develop is affordable? If you have that number, it would be great. And also, you talked about kind of the environmental impacts that you would like to reduce. Why did you see this region kind of having more potential than maybe areas for infill where the environmental impact would be less?
So Lisa, if you could go back to the slide that shows the slopes of Orchid. So this illustration is from the Orchid Community Plan from 1997. And what's really, I think, important of what this illustrates is that the Orchid Hills is a really strong visual backdrop to the Orchid community. And to think that there would be development on 30% slopes as you move up the hill. First of all, it's against county policies to do that infill and or building on that kind of slope. And it would destroy some of the backdrop of what we experience in Orchid. So the beauty of this project is that we're just the next development potential area on the other side of the Orchid Ridge, which includes the ability to develop in sort of villages and clusters that are surrounded by very steep slopes, but have really good development potential. And also addresses the environmental impacts of those areas. So that's how we came to the conclusion that this would be a good solution to provide housing within these pods and avoid some of the concerns that have been addressed in other projects. We have very limited visibility from 101. Because of the hillsides and ridges. We also have setbacks from biological areas such as tiger salamanders and some other issues. I think this is the next potential area for a great community to be developed. So I hope that's a first response to the comments that you made.
Thank you for that. And to my first question, what percentage of the development will be affordable?
So we're envisioning that between 10 to 15% of the site, because those are the metrics that we're seeing in the regional housing needs allocation from the county, would be in different increments of affordability, whether it's very low, moderate, middle income. As Jackson mentioned, the missing middle is really critical, and that's usually in the moderate category. So we see at least 15% of the project to be dispersed for the actual committed affordable units.
Great, thank you. I know some people had to drop off, but does anyone else have any questions?
So just in closing, we're working with the county staff. No application has been submitted yet. We obviously will keep your organization informed as we move forward with the process. And we welcome coming back and giving you a status report as we move through this process. We appreciate all of your comments, and we know that we have a long road ahead of us together on this project. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any further questions. And we thank you so much for this time.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really, yeah, really interesting and definitely something we'd like to stay updated about, and yeah, to keep our members informed and stay involved. So
Great.
yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other one way or another.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so now we'll just take the last few minutes before 6, just if anyone has any updates related to other issues. So if the
Do you want us to drop off?
if you want to, yeah, it's up to you, but thank
Okay.
you so much for your time. Yeah, have a good night.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. We
Thanks,
appreciate all your
everyone.
comments, and we look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take care.
So I just have one quick update. The Santa Maria City Council will be having a special meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. regarding their, it's called like a goal setting workshop. I don't know anything else about it, and it's only in person, you can't attend virtually. And they didn't send out a notice until 2 days before. So, and I've been told that this is like an important meeting. So I think there's a couple people in the community who are planning to attend, but if anybody would like to attend, or maybe Mary has some information about what that means.
I don't on Santa Maria, but I wanted to say something about Santa Barbara
Okay.
city redistricting when you're done.
Okay, yeah, so that is a thing, and we will hopefully hear an update about that in the future. So yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Santa Barbara City Redistricting Commission's meeting on Saturday morning. It is an in-person only meeting, and as far as we've been able to determine, they are not recording it. So it is something that might be of interest to monitor. There has not been very much public participation within the city of Santa Barbara on their redistricting. They've done a really, I will say, lousy job of outreach. That's a scientific term, lousy outreach. The commission is made up by 3 retired judges who do not live in Santa Barbara County by definition. And this came about as part of a legal settlement that required that they draw 2 majority minority Latino districts, and their consultant has not been able to draw more than 1. There's some question as to exactly whether 2 are drawable given the undercount of the census in Santa Barbara. But let's put it this way. The plaintiffs in the lawsuit are probably the most active people watching it and commenting on it. So it is something that is impactful for city of Santa Barbara. The district elections did result in 2 Latinx elected officials getting younger people involved, moving to districts and other things. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. They don't really have to have districts drawn until November of 2024, but the legal settlement required them to have them drawn already. So that's just kind of my report of things to watch out for in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, thank you. I will share that with our South County folks at the South County Roundtable tomorrow, unless you're planning to be there and want to talk about it there.
I don't
too.
know if I can, and
Okay.
I don't know if I got a notice of it. But it is of concern of just kind of. They did finally post the public, they did finally post the 3 letters that they've received.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
well,
all I
I'm-
can say is I don't know what's going on because
Okay.
nobody's talking about it. All right, that's it.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm interested in, maybe I'll email you and we can talk a little bit more about that. But does anyone else have anything they would like to share with the group?
Do you know when that meeting tomorrow is, Nadia?
The Santa Maria one's at 9 a.m. in the Minami, you know what I mean?
Minami?
Yeah,
Okay,
one of the
Youth-
buildings.
Manami Youth Center. I think it's Youth Center.
Yes,
Yeah.
Minami, yeah.
okay. Is it, how long is it? Is it multiple hours?
I have no idea.
Uh,
The notice was very short.
Scary, but I guess I should go.
Yeah,
There are a
I'll
couple
forward it
people-
to you, if you didn't get it.
Yeah, I've been following the thread. I've just been like awash in emails recently.
Yeah,
But that one was important, so I think I want to try to go tomorrow.
yeah, if you're able to, and then let us know what happens, that would be great. Yeah, I unfortunately cannot make it, but cool. Well, if there is nothing else, I will let you all go. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.